basic gap time credit. We don't have time to go into all the credit issues. On our website, we do have a reference material. There should be some interpretation criminal seminar material, but we'll try to bring in the main differences that might be helpful to counsel. For example, the sentencing order, the impact that it has on eligibility. Show of hands, how many prosecutors do we have anything from the prosecutor's office here? Or is everyone pretty much defense attorney?
Ex-prosecutors.
Ex-prosecutors. Okay, so we're looking at for the most part defense. So the first slide is just board organization. This just tells basically about the board members, 15 board members appointed by the governor, confirmed by the Senate. Board members do serve 6-year terms. Chairman, vice chairman. There are 3 alternate board members appointed. We have a adult panel, young adult panel, and there are 2 board members specifically assigned to the juvenile panel. These are the board members that are making the decisions in the panel hearing and decide, make the final decision as to the revocation decisions. This is the eligibility determination. When an offender is sentenced, the parole board receives notice by the Department of Correction. They receive a list, and they can run a list from the AOC of who's actually sentenced. As soon as the sentencing material is now available, it used to take weeks to come in. Now we're getting JOCs that can be as early as a week to be finalized. Our staff has access to what's called eJOC. That's the system used by the administrative office of courts. There's no actually mailing the JOC, mailing the PSI. It's all done through the electronic system. So if there is, for example, an amended JOC that's issued in your client's case, if you think for some reason that has not been processed, hasn't been received by the parole board, Department of Corrections, you can give our office a call. We can actually go on the computer now and look up the eJOC and see if we can find that judgment. It does happen. There are systems in place that we should automatically be notified of the amended JOCs, but it all depends on how staff enters that in prom scaffold. There's an indicator, and if it's not entered, unfortunately, there's a chance that you might not be notified. So if for some reason you think your clients are receiving additional credits, if something changes in the sentence, please let us know. We can go online to the JOC and we can actually check and obtain a copy of the JOC. The electronic signature constitutes the official signature, so we will go ahead and process it. We received the PSI, violation probation summaries. ISP cases, we also make sure that we have the ISP violation report that lists every violation that the offender was returned to custody for. So it does, so pretty in detail, so the full board will rely on that, and we're having a hearing in a subsequent ISP violator case. Parole eligibility date calculation we'll go over in a minute. The parole contract, starting in August 2010, offenders are eligible to enter a parole contract. When they enter the Department of Corrections at CRAF, they will be interviewed by a parole counselor. If staff at CRAF, the Central Reception and Assignment Facility, pretty much trying to, they don't get a chance to interview the offender is interviewed at their housing in prison. They're provided with a copy of the parole contract agreement. They agree to the terms, they sign it, and then if they complete the program specified in the contract, their parole eligibility can be reduced. There are certain disqualifying offenses, but it's all administrative. Parole eligibility basic calculations. Like I said, we're just about 4 slides. We have work and minimum credits, offenders parole eligibility. They can be reduced by work credits as long as it's a flat sentence, not mandatory minimum, obviously not reduced by work credits, minimum custody credits. But often I hear how many credits per month is my client earning. You can actually check on the Department of Corrections. There's a unique static credit statement that will tell you how many credits that the offender is earning. Depending on the nature of the job, it's a 5-day-a-week job, the offender earns 4 credits per month. If it's a 7-day-a-week job, the offender earns 4 credits a month. Minimum credits, if you're classified as minimum custody status, it's all done by the Department of Corrections. Full minimum, gang minimum. If the Department of Corrections determines the offender is eligible for min status, that can be, they can receive up to 3 credits per month that first year. Anything beyond the first year is an extra 5 credits a month. Really makes a big difference in the offenders that are working 7 days a week jobs, the ones that get in the halfway houses that earn the minimum custody status. They can be reducing their max date, their eligibility by 11 days a month. If they get the 6 credits a month or 5 credits a month, so it really does make a difference. For basic parole eligibility calculation, the parole eligibility term minus the actual credit equals the actual parole eligibility date. If there is no mandatory minimum term, parole eligibility term is going to be 1/3 of the sentence, so 9-year sentence, 3 years parole eligibility term. Parole I know it might be a little small on the screen, but this is just a 10-year flat sentence. The offender in this case had earned 60 days jail credit. So to start the eligibility calculation, you begin with the date of sentence, April 6, 2015. You add on the 1/3 of 10 years, which is 3 years, 4 months, brings you to August 5th, 2018. You minus your jail credit, 60 days, June 6, 2018. And then you have to determine the commutation credit. We have, it should be in the handouts, it's the whole commutation chart of how commutation credit is determined statutory. You take the flat for eligibility date, the June 6, 2018, and then staff will go to the date of sentence, April 6, 2015, determine what that time period is. In this case, it was 3 years, 2 months. Go to the chart and figure out how many days commutation credits on the chart. And in this case, it's 268 days. Now, the commutation credit is for good behavior. So if the offender does commit an institutional infraction or lose commutation credit, that time will actually be added right back on the eligibility date. So it is important to make sure your clients are aware that any poor behavior in prison and any lost commutation credit will affect both the overall eligibility date as well as the max in this case, for example purposes, we deducted the work and minimum custody credit out 40 days to show that the actual eligibility date will be reduced. In this case, it's August 2nd, 2007. The next example, this is just a mandatory minimum case, pretty basic. Sentence April 6, 2015. It was a 10-year sentence with 5-year mandatory minimum. You add it to April 6, 2015, the 5 years, April 5, 2020, take off the instantaneous sentence. And you'll see it's only reduced by the 60 days jail credit, no commutation, no work, no minimum. So your actual parole eligibility dates February 5, 2000. Now, the next 2 slides, this is where we try to focus on some extra attention, just because this shows the importance of sentencing and how you structure your plea deals of consecutive sentences, especially when you're dealing with a flat sentence and a mandatory minimum sentence. The first example is both example 3 and example 4 are the same sentences. It's a 5-year flat sentence with a 10-year consecutive sentence with a 5-year mandatory minimum. The first example is going to show you how it looks when you have a flat sentence with a consecutive mandatory minimum. The next screen will show you what it's like when you have the mandatory minimum first and the flat sentence second. So in this example, you can see you have the 5-year sentence first. So you have the April 6, 2015 date of sentence. You add 1/3 of the 5 years, it's 1 year, 8 months, and it brings you to December 5th, 2016. There's commutation credit is applied for that. That's from that time period from December 5th back to the date of sentence. That's 1 year, 8 months, so the commutation credits on that breaks down to 128 days. From there, you deduct your work or minimum custody credit, and the eligibility is June 1st. You basically work that down to you can't reduce any lower. It's called netting it out. It's a little complicated, but you can't. So it's June 1st, 2016, and then you add that mandatory minimum on, which is June 1st, 2021. 5 years. It doesn't actually apply to the mandatory minimum. It actually works in favor of the offender, so we apply it on the second string versus the first string. So you'll see the eligibility date in this case is April 2nd, 2021. Now, it's important because this is when you see the flat sentence with the mandatory minimum second, brings you to April 2nd, 2021. Now, on the next slide, you'll see that same sentencing scheme. It is your eligibility date when you do the man first, and then the consecutive sentence is February 25th, 2020. So right there, you're looking at February 5th, 2020, a difference of 11 months in eligibility purposes. So it's really important to make sure, especially as defense counsel, that if you have the option in plea bargaining of how to run the sentences, you really need to have the mandatory minimum first and then the flat consecutive, because you'll serve your mandatory minimum first, then the second sentence is basically wiped out. In this case, you'll see it's April 6, 2015. You earn the mandatory, or you add the mandatory minimum to your April 5th, 2020. Jail credits deducted off the first string and the February 5th, 2020 is your mandatory minimum. So from there, you add the 1/3 of your 5-year flat sentence, which is 1 year, 8 months, and it brings you to October 5th, 2021. Now look at the amount of comp time on this credit. Commutation credits in this scenario is 580 days. The last one was 128 days. Big difference. You're talking almost which can even be worked down by working minimum credits to the mandatory minimum. Probably they can't go below the mandatory minimum. Any questions?
Just want to say something that we aggregate eligibility terms. If you look at this, we said earlier that basic eligibility is 1/3 of the sentence. It's not 1/3 of the aggregate sentence. People look at this and say 15 years, 1/3 is 5, it's 5-year mandatory minimum, and maybe the 5-year ban-in should be eligibility. No, we aggregate eligibility terms. Each sentence has an eligibility term. If it was 4 or 5 sentences, we would determine the eligibility term, add them all together, and then apply the credits. So that's why you're seeing it's 5 years plus the 1/3 of the flat. Also, when we talk to the end of the saying, from the defense perspective, we want the mandatory minimum first, and the consecutive. We talk to, obviously, the prosecutors, we advise the prosecutors that they want the flat sentence first and the mandatory minimum second. When we do seminars with the judges, we explain this to the judges, but we point this out. This is important to the defense counsel, prosecutors, and to judges. So we advise the judges that this is how we explain it to the attorneys, and it's up to you, the prosecutor, and the judge to figure out how the sentences are to be imposed. When we calculate eligibility, when the offender comes in and we see the judgment of conviction, we're going to order the eligibility terms in how the judge imposes the sentence. So whatever is on the judgment of conviction, that's the order of the eligibility terms. Now, in some cases, it's happened over the years that a judge may say, A is consecutive to B, B is consecutive to A. That doesn't help us. We don't know what the order is. If it's this kind of a scenario, we are going to put the mandatory minimum first and the flat sentence second. So we're doing it for the benefit of the offender. But if it's not clear and we do that, we're writing to the court. We're going to copy the prosecutor and copy the defense counsel and explain to the judge, we can't decipher what the order is supposed to be. This is what we are doing, and we're asking the judge for clarification. And whatever the judge tells us, that's what we do. If the judge never responds, it's going to be the ban-in first and the flat sentence consecutive. So we constantly are writing to judges on issues like this and every other issue that we have. But as David pointed out, this is just the impact is significant when you're calculating the offender's eligibility.
And one other thing, you keep hearing about this 1/3. If it's a flat sentence, as long as it's not jail credits, you basically can tell the client the first time you can be considered is after 1/5 of your sentences, roughly with a couple of exceptions. The impact of this is that if you have a case, let's say it's an aggravated manslaughter case, the prosecutor wants 2085, and to serve 17 years without parole, well, maybe you'll be able to sell it instead as 1585 with a consecutive 10 for some other offenses, so the client ends up with a 25-year instead of a 20-year sentence. But the net effect of it is reducing his eligibility, which is the important one. You tell the prosecutor he messes up in prison, he's not getting out, he's going to serve more time. But if he's doing really well, he'll be eligible earlier. The victim's family is told he got a 25-year sentence instead of a 20-year sentence. So there's ways to negotiate these things, and the key of having that mandatory minimum first is it may not really affect the amount of time that they actually serve. Because a 2085 with a consecutive 20 flat sentence, total of 40, person's going to be eligible after 17 years. Whether it's on the 40 or on the 20, doesn't mean they get out, but they have a shot at it. He works on privilege cases. The prosecutor says they want 5, serve 3. Plead them out to 8 flat. Maybe they're not getting out, but maybe we're getting ISP, or maybe we're getting them parole. where they can't get that ISP while there's a restriction. So there's ways, these are very important things just to understand how these sentences are calculated. And your client who serves jail time and waits for sentencing is getting screwed. And they're getting screwed because if you look at that, let's say it wasn't 60 days, let's say the client was in jail for 2 years before sentencing. There's no good time, there's no minimum time. They don't get those credits, they just get a fraction of those credits. So that's a very important calculation, number 4. That 60 days is a small number, that's why you don't see the impact. But if that was 500 days, that client has not gotten the benefit of any deductions except for the 1 day at a time. And I learned from Doug that I see this mistake all the time. The plea bargain says credit for time served. To me, you're not doing your client a great service when he's been in on multiple charges or a violation of parole or a violation of probation of some kind. Because when certain offenses are dismissed that he did time for, and he's finally sentenced on one charge, he may not get credit for these calculations. So when you say credit for time served, and everybody thinks he should get 500 days, when those people get that sentence, they write a letter to the judge and they go, gee, you know, he was really only entitled to 80 days based on this, and that. Did you really need to give him 500? And then nobody does anything, the judge just changes it, the guy gets something credit for 80 days instead of 500 days. So, there's a case, parole board versus Glover, thank you, Glover. I put on my plea agreements, that on names. Credit for 500 days on everything pursuant to parole board versus Glover. And I also put plea bargaining credits, because what happens when you see that and you realize that the judge miscalculated? What happens, Doug?
Well, if the judge is awarding the credit and we're applying the credit in calculation, and if we think there's an issue, with the credit, and from our perspective, we may not agree with the award, but if it's on with the judgment of conviction, it's part of the plea agreement, we're gonna apply the calculation, and normally where we would write a letter asking the judge for clarification because we think there's an issue based upon the case law or whatever justification we can identify. But if it's a matter of a plea agreement, then we would write the letter and we do the calculation and proceed from that.
So if you want to give your client credit for 2 years before the crime was committed on that crime, and you put that on the judgment of conviction, no one whispers there's a problem.
Oh, wait a minute, did you say?
Credit for previous charges of incidents might be problematic.
Common sense has to prevail.
Well, common sense. No, I disagree. I have several clients who have received credit when they were out of prison and on the street and or before the crime was committed because the plea bargain credits are there. And once they see that the judge awarded plea bargain credits, etc., the client has been released, maxed out, etc. I'm telling you, it's very important to have.
That we may question. We're talking more of the scenarios where, for example.
But there's multiple crimes. They're not going to look at every single aspect of multiple offenses. It's complicated. They will if you don't have plea bargain credits.
There's an exception to every rule.
Sure.
So, but they have to understand that. They're not writing a letter, but I said, common sense prevails, so
Sure.
probably.
It should prevail. Let's say that.
Explain to the judge what we think.
Okay. Bottom line is, you're not doing the client. The state sometimes wants it too. It looks better if the guy got a bigger sentence, and he gets more credits. There's a reason for the state to go along with it. They want to get rid of 5 cases. Which, if they're getting rid of 4, now you're going to start figuring out, oh, wait a second, by dismissing this, he's not getting credits, it gets messy. If you're telling your client you're getting a year's worth of credits, you better not put credit for time served. I get all these cases from that other lawyers have pled out, and the complaint is, I didn't get the credits, and poor Jack, where's Jack? There he is. Has to write the brief, and we have to get the transcripts, and we have to get this, and now, do we set aside the plea bargain because the guy thought he was going to get a year's worth, and his attorney, of course, isn't representing him on post-conviction relief? Okay, so what happens is it's just left out there floating. If he doesn't get the right help, he's going to serve an extra year in prison. So I think it's very important, you're doing a disservice to your client, to not make sure that if you're telling him or you want him to get the year, you don't put that in there. And it's very helpful to have it in the JOC because they look at very limited things. And when we say PSI, pre-sentence investigation, or pre-sentence report, these are very, you say judge amended. Do you think they really get an amended version? They don't get an amended version of the pre-sentence report. The only place it's amended is on the record. Okay, so be very careful about what's sent there. And otherwise, there's going to be a problem down the line when the guy's doing an extra year or two later on when, somebody actually has the funds to sue their lawyer.
And we do see this too, like Ron said, it's definitely problematic because, for example, parole violations, we see it all the time. A new offense committed while on parole. RV black, you're not entitled to credit from the time the warrant was issued for that offense committed while on parole. So it's often negotiated that the offender gets the credit on the new sentence. Well, if it's not on the JOC, we write the credit's removed. Now it makes your job more difficult because now you have to go back to the judge and say, hey, we had it on the judgment, it was removed, it was part of our plea, it was part of the negotiation. You have to go find the sentencing transcript, write to the judge, give now a second amended JOC, which gets back to us. In the meantime, your client might have lost out on eligibility purposes, the delay actually hampers them. So it's really important because even in those scenarios, if it says negotiated on the judgment, we're not ready for clarification. Like Ron says, he has had some cases where, okay, maybe the predates commission offense. I think even in those cases, we have written before even if it says negotiate, because we write is it really appropriate to get credit for jail credit for that predates commission offense. But hey, if it works for you and the judge applies it and we're bound by the judgment, we will apply. So
you can put plea bargain credit?
Jail credit awarded for plea. Sometimes we see that jail credit negotiated jail credit.
When I'm in front of, for example, Judge Fox in Camden, she wants us to put down what dates he's getting credit from for what dates. She doesn't want to have letters from the parole board later or from the Department of Corrections asking for things.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to have to figure it out.
Yeah. And it really needs to be in the sentencing statement because now the new JOCs on the second page where the jail credit's listed, it doesn't give you room to write in. You can't write negotiated or before the old judgments, you can just hammer it in and they would type it in. Now it actually has to go in that sentencing statement. So it is important in whatever's in the sentencing statement, the conditions of sentencing, it will go in there and say negotiated for plea or jail credit pursuant to plea.
There's typical problems. If you're on a parole violation, you're not supposed to get credit for the new crime they committed. That's the basis of the parole. Okay? But so the judge is going to get that automatic letter unless the plea bargain says otherwise. So forget what was meant to be what the judge says.
They get CLE credits, right?
The basic calculations, I'm not going to go over this as well in the presentation. Gap time, we would need a whole day to discuss. Like I said, in the longer presentation, I think it was your handout, you'll see actually two examples.
Hold up when you're gap time.
Yeah, gap time, it's complicated. A lot of people have problems understanding. When you say gap time, it's two events. If you commit offense one, you commit offense two. If you're sentenced on one offense first, the second offense, you don't get jail credit for the date of sentence of the first sentence. The second, you actually get gap time credit.
The calculation that we did about the man-minute consecutive sentences, the fact that gap time doesn't reduce mandatory minimums. So if you've got multiple charges that are pending, you got to be cognizant of how the order was disposed. I mean, the calculation that we showed, it was the same days by the same judge and fine. But if your client's already under the sentence, and now you're talking about resolving the second charge that could be near I mean, you're not getting that gap time credit is the longer, Ron has mentioned, the longer there's a delay in resolving that second charge, which is going to be nearer. All that time, gap time, that doesn't apply. He's going to do the 85%, whatever jail credit existed before the first day of sentence. So when you've got a client with multiple charges, you've got to be cognizant of how they're resolved, the order in which they're resolved, because, again, gap time, if awarded, he's doing the 85%, only minus the true jail credit. And I know on occasion, and we just look at that now, that you can get the judge to grant that gap time as jail credit, it blows my mind, fine, then it reduces the 85% mandatory minimum, but, yeah, gap time is gap time.
And I did hand out what I was handing out was a full eligibility table. This is what we use for basic calculations for reference purposes. When Ron was saying how it's important with the sentence, instead of getting 15, you might want your client to get it straight 15 flat, and you get a 15 with a 10. Because in here, if you see 25-year sentence, if you read column B as your maximum date for tax purposes, 25-year sentence can be reduced by 3,084 days of commutation credit. That's huge. We get calls all the time from family members or say, victim, prosecutors, how is this guy eligible for parole on this flat sentence? Well, for example, a 10-year sentence reduced 996 days, 3 years. So, I mean, and not on top of that, now you're also getting the work minimum credit. So you do really have to be cognizant of the way that you structure how much commutation credit, how much work credit, how much minimum credit, and if under actually necessary. This is the slide explaining the actually difference between gap time and jail credit fee applicability. Hearing process. This is the open question: what happens when an offender is eligible for parole? Once the offender meets the parole eligibility date, 6 months prior, we start the publication process. What happens is the computers, our staff runs weekly lists. It will tell us who's within 6-7 months of their eligibility. They're automatically published for parole consideration. Their names go on our website to the victim, the general public. And what happens then is the prosecutor has an opportunity to submit their comments, defense counsel can submit their comments. Anything that we receive will go in the state parole board file, which will be reviewed by the board members at the time of the offender's hearing. At the same time, once the offender is published for parole consideration, the Department of Corrections is notified. The Department of Corrections is preparing a pre-parole package. That pre-parole package will include the offender's work reports, housing reports, what programs they've done. It'll actually give you a medical report of what medications the offender on, what his medical history is. And that's all prepared from the DOC medical record. Each department is notified and they each have to fill out their form. The offender is actually given a copy of the pre-parole package. They have to sign for it, particularly the investigation. The state parole board also is in the process of having a mental health pre-parole psychological evaluation done. Depends on what kind of offense the offender is serving. A standard pre-parole evaluation, it's a psychological evaluation. You have a